Welcome to Gaming in the Past, where we look at games from the past. If you know me on here, you probably know three of my favorite things: video games, Frogger, and Sonic the Hedgehog. The last thing being my favorite franchise of all time overall. But where did my love of the Sonic franchise start? Well, my first knowledge of anything Sonic related was back in the late 90s with those shampoo bottles that doubled as the ring game. It had a Sonic theme to it. But my first Sonic video game was this right here, Sonic Advance for the Game Boy Advance. It was a significant title as it was the first original Sonic game to be released not only after Sega exited the console market, but also on a Nintendo system. As you know, Sega and Nintendo were big rivals back in the 90s. If you want to know more, look it up. You'll get way more info than you actually asked for. Anyway, Sonic Advance was released worldwide in February of 2002. 2002, a simpler time for me. Back when I was 8 years old, barely read anything, and started playing this game as Knuckles, thinking it was evil Sonic. Good times. Now it's time to revisit it. I also thought this said Sears because they both had a very similar font, and I was a dumb kid. The plot for this game is lacking. Basically, Eggman does what Eggman does, and Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy must stop him. There's not much more to it than that. You can probably look it up online to see if there's more to it, but playing the game itself shows very little in terms of story. That's all fine and good as long as the gameplay is good. We have our choices of the 4 characters I mentioned earlier to play through this game. Of course I'm going to start with Sonic, but I will be putting in a code to make this game Sonic 2 and 3. Tails follows you around and acts like Tails from Sonics 2 and 3. Speaking of, that's basically how this game plays. If you've played any of the classic 2D Sonic games, this should feel very familiar. Not quite the same, but close enough. Sonic has his classic circle legs, or oval legs, when he's got enough speed. The spin dash is here as well, because what 2D Sonic game after Sonic 2 doesn't use this? The point is, it's in a lot of these games. But not only does Sonic have his classic moves, he also has some new moves, such as grinding on rails, this cartwheel move, and that's about it. Well, there are like 1 or 2 more, but they're largely useless. In fact, most of these new moves are useless, at least with the way I play the game. But while they don't add much to the game, they don't really take away from it either. They're just here if you want to use them, I guess. The zone structure is also like Sonic's 2 and 3. The first act has you reaching the goalpost, and the second has you fighting Eggman at the end. The first area is Neo Green Hill Zone. This was at a time before Green Hill was very overused. This also doesn't really feel like Green Hill, as it's got more of a beach/city-ish feeling. There are trees and grass in it, so technically it has, well, green hills. As you make it to Eggman in the second act, he fights us with a giant hammer. A slow-moving giant hammer. The boss battles do work a bit differently in this game, as once you get to the last couple of hits, he gets a little more aggressive. After beating him, we save the animals from the giant capsule that hurts us if we don't move, rinse and repeat for most of the game. Secret Base Zone takes us more in the city part. At least that's what it looks like in the background. Or this could all be Eggman's secret base, who knows? One thing I haven't pointed out yet is the art style. As you can tell, it takes on the more modern Sonic art style. The characters look more like how they did in the Sonic Adventure games, or rather the 2D pictures used in those games. It does look pretty appealing for a GBA game. If it doesn't look as appealing here, keep in mind, this was meant for a little GBA screen and not an HD phone or TV. Still doesn't look bad though. The boss fight for this zone has Eggman in a glorified, very protected but not really pogo stick. This one's easy enough to hit, but the hits on you can feel cheap as he's a bit too precise with where he lands. Casino Paradise Zone is another casino zone in a Sonic game because nearly every game needs one apparently. Not always the biggest fan of these types of levels, as I hate trying to get through only to be pinballed and bounced around everywhere. Thankfully it's not as bad here. I do like how every level in this game has its own music track, like how Sonic 3 does it. Like, each zone has similar sounding music tracks, but they're still different enough from each other. What I don't like is the boss for this zone. It's not super hard, it's just annoying to deal with, given that you don't always know where he and the spiked ball will come out of. So unless you've got very sharp reflexes and can know exactly when to move and where to go, it can be annoying. Ice Mountain Zone has you traversing through the harsh snowy landscape, with party music playing. This is also where the annoying water sections of the game come in. Yeah, it really slows you down and you have to find these bubbles a lot. Little too much like the classic games in that regard, if you ask me. Tails and Knuckles don't really have a hard time underwater, but Sonic and Amy are not fun to use here. Still, it could be worse, all things considered. It's not like the boss fight is under... water. This fight isn't the worst, but it's not very fun either. If you're Sonic, you have to jump on these icicles that drop down, not only to attack Eggman, but also to get air because there's no bubbles here. But if you're underneath the icicles, you also get hurt that way, so it's just a pain. Thankfully, I was sort of able to cheese it with Tails here. In short, he somewhat copies what buttons you press, so it's like I'm controlling him with delayed results. Angel Island Zone has you going through the ruins part of the island. This is where the game is a bit more difficult. I mean, going underwater before made it kind of annoying, but this is where there are more bottomless pits, something the next game is very infamous for. You have to be a little more aware of your surroundings and a bit more precise with platforming. Act 2 of this zone has one of the stupidly hardest Emerald challenges in any Sonic game. And I didn't record that, but I will be talking about the Emerald challenges later. The boss here is Knuckles? But he's a playable character in this... Yeah, it's not the real Knuckles. I guess they only wanted to go halfway with the gullible Knuckles fight without it actually being the real guy. It's a fine fight, a nice change of pace from fighting Eggman the whole time. The next zone is the final zone, Egg Rocket Zone. As a kid, I didn't really notice that this was a rocket we were on the whole time, but at this point, is that really surprising information? Also, let's be real. Those of us who played this growing up fell off this first ramp at least once our first try. Don't try to deny it now. This level can be a real challenge, as most final-ish levels should go. Instead of the timer going up, it's going down here, showing that you need to get to the top before time runs out. There are 3 different times where the time counts down, and thankfully the timer resets each time. Have I mentioned time? At the end, you jump into this thing to end the level, which can be a bit more difficult than you'd think, at least with Sonic and Amy. The final level, Act 2 of Cosmic Angel Zone, you navigate your way through the inside of the ship. I guess that's where we're at. Some good level design, good music, interesting gimmicks. This level feels good to play. Good enough at least. That is until you reach the boss. You have to hit the floor hard enough with a jump to have Eggman turn right side up so you can attack him. But it's so easy for him to attack you, and your rings go through the ground too easily, so it's quite possibly the most annoying fight in this entire game. It's not always clear about how hard you need to hit the sphere ground, and how close to Eggman you have to be for him to turn up. If you're too close, you may get attacked by touching him, or by one of these little glowing balls he shoots out. While not the worst boss fight in Sonic history, it certainly is the worst in this game. Not because it's hard, because it's not really hard, but because it's very annoying. I think that describes the boss fights overall in this game. After beating him, we move on to the X Zone. I lied about the previous one being the last zone. This one's different as it's just bosses. The first fight being a recreation of the first fight from the first game, the second being the first fight from the second game. The next one is the last one. Yes, it's also annoying, but not as much. It is pretty difficult to hit Eggman without getting hurt yourself. There are some strategies to hit him more easily while getting hit, you'll just need plenty of rings with you. It does have some pretty good music, making it feel like the final boss of the game. After beating him, Sonic runs off as the space station explodes and he falls off and is... Wait, we'll get back to this soon as there's more to talk about. We have other characters to play as after all. Like the classic games, the game primarily plays the same when using the other characters. Same zones, same levels, in the same order. But playing as the different characters can give you different pathways to play through the game. Using Tails obviously allows you to fly over nearly everything, so he is the easy mode of this game. Flying can kill your momentum, and there are walls and such in the way, so you can't fly the entire time. Still though, he does make the game much easier to play. He's also the character best suited to find all the emeralds. Now let's talk about those emeralds. The way to obtain them is you need to find these giant springs in the same way that you find the giant rings in Sonic 3. The special stages have you riding some kind of board down these tubes. Get as many rings as possible and watch out for the spiked balls. You also have these trampoline type things, or whatever they are, these things where you can do tricks and get more rings, which I usually fail at, and sometimes there are these chow, which give you continues for the game. If you fail these challenges, you'll have to reset the level and find the spring again. And have fun doing that. For some reason, the pause menu is not a menu. You can only pause the game and nothing else. If you want to reset the level, you'll have to turn the game off and back on. Genius idea there, guys. Total genius. Now, where was I? Oh, right. The first Emerald Challenge is pretty simple, but the rest can be hard. Now, where else was I? Oh, right. While you can't cheese the entire game with Tails, he's still the easiest character to use to get through these levels. Well, he's more like beginner mode in this game, where Knuckles is basically easy mode. Of course, while he doesn't fly, he does glide. He can also climb up walls, which makes things easier as well. He's also good for looking for the Emerald challenges. And as I said near the beginning of this video, he was the first character I used. When I said I thought he was evil Sonic, I meant Shadow. I didn't question why he looked nothing like Shadow, nor did I question what Shadow's name actually was. I didn't know much about any of the characters, I just made assumptions and enjoyed the product. And Knuckles does make it a pretty enjoyable experience. Amy, however, does not. Amy is pretty infamous in this game for being almost completely different from the other characters. Unlike Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, Amy can't curl up into a ball under normal circumstances. The way she plays completely slows the pace of the game down, both because she is slower and because she can't curl up into a ball. She uses her hammer for attacks, which she's also slow at. It can make her jump higher on springs, and it can make enemy encounters a bit interesting. She's also the only other character that can grind on rails, so I guess only hedgehogs can grind on rails in this game. But overall, she sucks to use in this game. It's caused a bit of a divide among fans as to if she's actually good to use in this game or not. But clearly not enough people liked her in this game, as in the other two advanced games, as well as most other 2D Sonic games she's a playable character in, she can curl up into a ball. So Amy is the hard mode of the game. As for the other modes in this game, there's Time Attack, where it's like any other Sonic games with Time Attack. You have one life, and you try to beat the level as fast as possible to get the best time. And Tiny Chow Garden. Yeah, the Sonic Adventure games ain't the only games to have Chow Gardens. This game and Advance 2 also have them. And Pinball Party. And Sega Superstars did as well. Anyway, you can only have one Chow here at a time. For the time, this was a nice little side mode in the game. It was like a bridge for pet sims at the time, bridging the gap between the LCD pet sim games and the Chow Gardens of the adventure games when it comes to how advanced they are. You can pet your Chow, feed them, have them play a trumpet, and play a couple of minigames with them. Sometimes they'll say random things as well. It's not much, but it's enjoyable for an on-the-go pet sim from the early 2000s. Now let's head back to where we last left Sonic. After getting all the emeralds and playing the last level as Sonic again, Sonic will become Super Sonic and head to the moon for one final boss fight in the Moon Zone. It's nice of them to include a Super Sonic boss fight, though it would have been cooler if you could use Super Sonic in normal levels after this. It's a cool concept with great music, but it's still a Sonic Advance boss fight. So many things are hitting you at once, and it can be hard to hit the weak spot at times. What makes it less stressful though is that it's Super Sonic, so you don't get hurt from being hit. You just have to watch your ring count as you fight. Once you get the hang of things though, it can be easy enough. After winning, a sort of cutscene plays, showing the gang waiting for Sonic to get back home. A few days later, Tails finds him and Sonic 2 ending style images show up, and Super Sonic congratulates me cause we're the best of friends. Credits roll with GBA type church music playing. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Seriously, it kind of sounds like church music at first. And that was Sonic Advance for the GBA. Despite its flaws, and you may hear me say this for a lot of other Sonic games, this is a great game. I'm sure nostalgia helps me enjoy it, but I don't think you need nostalgia to enjoy it. It's a solid game, and I'd highly recommend it. The GBA version, not the N-Gage version that's called Sonic N. There are plenty of Sonic games to talk about, so we'll see what happens in the future. In the meantime, I'm Danny Benes, and this has been Gaming in the Past. Thanks for watching.